Mangas are pretty good. They're a great way of experiencing a story with excellent paneling and absorbing art, such as Boichi's clean artwork for Dr. Stone, or Miura Kentaro that does Berserk. You also can't forget about Araki with JoJo's. Even ones that don't have the most insane drawing skills are still good by managing to make it simple and easy to understand, and still have incredible stories to tell, like Hiromu Arakawa with Full Metal Alchemist, or Aka Akasaka that does Love is War. I've collected and read a decent amount of manga, having many amazing experiences.
God damn, that's sturdy.
Yet some of them can be quite long, where you gotta invest a lot of time into. I have yet finished all of these, and look how big this book is. It's 3 times as big as all the Minecraft tutorial books put together, and there are multiple of these. As amazing as it is, that is a lot of reading. So sometimes short story mangas are a good option to get a quick and easy start to finish experience. I've not long read a few, but I quite enjoyed, and I'll talk about some of them, and maybe you may be interested if you need a quickish read from these ones I found. The first one is I Sold My Life for 10,000 yen per year, which is a pretty hefty title, and on its own already gives you an idea on what the story is about. It did make me curious on what it meant. Well, it couldn't be more blunt because that's exactly what the plot is. It starts with a character of the name Kazunoki making a promise to a girl that in 10 years from now, if they haven't found anyone else, they would get married. But fast forward to 10 years where Kazunoki is now 20 years old, and all that time he barely accomplished anything. He lives alone working a part-time job and is barely a penny to his name, scraping together what he can by selling his own books and CDs. Until one of the librarians he was selling to told him that there was a little place where you could sell Lifespan for money, but the amount of money you would get differs from person to person. It depends on how much you contribute to your life, as in how happy the life was, if you achieved any dream goals, how your life makes other people happy, what it contributed to society, and so on, is what decides its value. And for Kazunoki, which was already very depressed, had a few friends he could talk to, many probably forgot he existed, and his passion for drawing disappeared, not picking up a pencil in years. Then with only a small job, means that his life wouldn't be very valuable. As the title suggests, it only came out to be a mere 10,000 yen a year, which is about £55 or $70. That is not a lot for a year. But as Kazunoki was a bit desperate, he sold all of the 30 years he had remaining, except for 3 months. Now with only 3 months left to live, Kazunoki is put with an observer who keeps watch on him, and makes sure he doesn't do anything that could endanger anyone, as you don't know what people may do when nearing the end of their life. A girl called Miyagi was put in the position of observer for Kazunoki. Apart from the last 3 days, Miyagi will be around him no matter what. And that's where Kazunoki's last months to live begins. As you see what he does nearing close to his death is quite interesting. Even though he's about to die, he never seems to be in a rush for anything. If anyone else was in his shoes, they would do the best to accomplish and experience anything the best they can. But with Kazunoki, he struggles to find anything to do, biding his time. It sounds boring seeing this person not do anything extremely exciting, but I really appreciate the little things he would try to do. He would attempt to catch up with old friends that he wasn't super close with. He also tried to meet the girl he made a promise to 10 years back, but they don't end up going as well as he wanted, which made him even more clueless on what to do. So he would spend most of his time with Miyagi, and as time went on their bond got even stronger, doing small little things by going walking, visiting Kazunoki's hometown, and one I find the most intriguing is taking pictures of random vending machines they come across as one of his new hobbies he came up with. It's something that I find really peaceful and innocent, going around taking pictures of vending machines, putting them in an album. Any other person may find it pointless or a waste of time, especially when you're so close to your death, but I can sympathize with Kazunoki. I find it to be a nice unique way to spend time. But that is one of the few activities Kazunoki and Miyagi would do, and this whole time, Miyagi is unable to be seen by anyone except Kazunoki and animals for some reason. So to everyone else, Kazunoki is talking to a bunch of nothingness, which the surrounding people find to be bizarre, yet Kazunoki could care less. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you may know that I love when stories focus on two characters, where they grow a stronger connection to one another as it goes on. Like Johnny and Gyro, Reagan and Mob, Cheng and Lu. I love how stories use these characters to develop them in a great way. This manga is no exception. Kazunoki and Miyagi develop so much together. They both started off feeling uncomfortable with each other, as you would if a random person would stay at your home and look over you for months. But as time goes on, they start spending pretty much every day together. They grow to understand each other more and begin to genuinely enjoy being around one another. There are many wonderful moments the two share together. Despite the theme of the story where you know the protagonist is nearing his death, it doesn't try to get to your emotions too much. It could have easily been a really depressing and sad plot, but it isn't. At least that's what I think. There are definitely times where it got more upsetting, just not to the point where it would push itself to really get at you. And it's not like emotional stories are bad, they can be very good actually. I enjoyed the direction this plot took. It's more of a healing story, preparing him for his death. It's pretty engrossing, from start to end. It kept my interest throughout it all, and with only 3 volumes, it's easy to get through. Same could be said for this next one. Solanin. If you've never heard of Solanin, then you may have heard of Ino Asano's other work, Goodnight Pun-Pun. Though from what I've read of Pun-Pun, I will say that I find that to be better, but that doesn't mean Solanin has nothing going for it. It's a pretty simple story about a girl named Mako, who is pretty much tired of everything, getting annoyed at the slight inconveniences through her day, unsatisfied with her life, working in a bland office job, not long then quitting, wanting to move on to something new, yet doesn't know what it could be. She lives in a small apartment with her boyfriend Tanada, which works for a newspaper company drawing illustrations part-time, and he is also a member of a small band, consisting of 2 other members, Yamada the drummer, who works at the local pharmacist, and Kato the bass player, who's been in university for 6 years, as they plan to make it big with the few songs they have worked on. While Mako has no plans of her own, yet limited time to do nothing, with the money she saved slowly going down, to ensure she can keep living with her boyfriend in the apartment. As you might tell, Solanin is a very realistic story. It also may be quite relatable to some. It's all about ordinary people living very normal lives. These people aren't special in the slightest. They don't have a huge goal to complete, except getting recognition as a band. They don't have highly interesting backstories. They're just normal day people. This may not sound interesting, but I enjoy seeing how every character gets through life, what it's like on an average day for them, and I'm curious to see how each one perceives life just as we do. I suppose the most fictional part of the story are little dream segments that show where a lot of weirdo stuff would happen, reflecting one of the characters' everyday thoughts and struggles. I will say, the plot does get a bit slow at a point, and some chapters I found uninteresting, where it would focus on characters that weren't all amusing, but it does pick up more around the halfway point, where a certain outcome happens that changed many of the characters' perspectives on life, not knowing how things are going to turn out. I don't want to say too much to spoil anything, but it did catch me by surprise. I'd say I definitely enjoyed my time with Solanin. I don't think it's the greatest manga ever, but a good quick read with only 2 volumes, and especially if you enjoy Ino Asano's other works, such as Pun-Pun, which I should really read more, or his Dead DDD Demons, which I have yet to read, but I will definitely recommend Solanin. Now the last one I'll be talking about is probably my favourite out of the other 2, but is also the longest with a whole 6 volumes, and that is Girls' Last Tour. Girls' Last Tour is about 2 military looking girls, Chito and Yuri, as they go exploring in an apocalyptic world in this small vehicle on a journey to reach the highest floor level they can. Their goal is just to survive in a world with barely any life left. I was so invested in their travels, curious to see what they discovered, like an art gallery, bread factory, a submarine, and other such establishments and facilities that are unknown to them. It's interesting that it immerses you, making you want to learn more about these places. Chi and Yu also have little understanding on how the world was before, since I'm guessing they lived most of their lives in this apocalyptic world. Chi's knowledge consists of what she reads in books, but Yu is a lot more oblivious, so she learns from what they find or what Chi tells her, if she remembers that is. So they get surprised seeing stuff that we see or hear about on a daily basis. Chi and Yu find normal things, like fish, chocolate or beer, and it's a completely new experience for them. So it's interesting to see how they learn and adapt to new things they come across. Seeing them travel, exploring this wasteland is fascinating enough on its own. Looking at these huge rundown skyscrapers and great giant towers that have all been abandoned, then with broken down warplanes crashed onto the ground, military weapons spewed all over the place, yet there is not a person in sight. It's also eerie. It may seem that a setting like this is creepy and off-putting, but I actually find it to be quite relaxing and calming. I feel comfort in just seeing Chi and Yu explore different types of structures together. It has a chill vibe to it. It's a kind of manga that I enjoy reading at midnight, which is the time of day I find to be the quietest. It's the perfect mood to read to get myself properly immersed into this world. Regardless though, it's easy to get immersed. The atmosphere is so incredible. Every single chapter is able to pull off such amazing surroundings, yet many of them look very similar to each other, but are still so different with how they present themselves. The locations are so mysterious, to get you to wonder and question about what these buildings are here for, and how they used to be before the world fell into despair. All this helps with the art style. The art style is very detailed, but at the same time a bit messy. I find it intriguing. It's not messy in a bad way because it still looks very pleasing. I find it to be very unique. It's almost like some panels are drafts, and seem unfinished in a way. Windows wouldn't be filled in correctly, some lights are just scribbles. It makes it distinct, when also combined with the more detailed look. The aesthetic suits the world it's trying to show. Even though this is all great, my absolute favourite part of this whole manga is how vague everything is. As I mentioned with the structures before, where I wonder how they must have been when the world was active with people everywhere on a daily basis, that is pretty much all this manga does. I question so much from how little information it gives. How did this world end up the way it did? How is it laid out with many floor levels, making it all complicated? Why did a huge war happen? What reasons conflicted with each other for it to end up like this? What and who is Nuko? What are all the meanings of these symbols? What were these massive machines used for? Even Chi, the level-headed one making sure that nothing goes wrong and takes the least amount of risks they can to survive, and Yu, the more cool-headed, careless one that never seems to worry about putting themselves in danger. And food is one of their top priority, which will even kill Chi for a bourbon biscuit. Through the whole series, I had no idea what kind of bond these two share. Are they sisters, orphans, or just good friends? It's never fully explained, and it does stuff like that so much I love it. It may be frustrating to many that you never get a complete answer, but I love how it makes you think as you theorize it. It leaves you to your own imagination. It's very creative in a way, and it's interesting to know what other people's thoughts are. I thoroughly enjoyed Girls' Last Tour. I had such a pleasant time with it. It's not too short or not too long. It's a good length for a story. There's also an anime that came out, but I don't think it ever ended. So if you're ever in the mood, I highly recommend the manga. It is very, very nice. Those were all the mangas I wanted to talk about. They stood out on their own to have a much bigger variety for many different tastes. And I do hope to find even more short mangas. Reading really good short stories gives out a quick and easy, fully complete experience that I can finish in no time. 朝日が昇り一日が